we're talking about the relationship between Chauvin and Floyd. And then I'm talking about Tucker Carlson, his racist remarks on Fox News this week. And then Michelle Fiore, White Lives Matter. At this time, that's where you're going to complain about an African-American taking your job, talk about affirmative action, comments at the Clark County Republican Convention. We're taking your phone calls, 257-5396. We got a full board of calls, but obviously if the line is busy, keep trying. We'll get to you as soon as we can. Let's start off with Jay. Jay, you're first up in the Vegas take. What's going on?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Jay.
Yeah, that's a lot of heated rhetoric coming out. In my opinion, I'm trying to look at this from a honest point of view, straight.
Yep.
I understand the Black Lives Matter. The way that they describe it is it's not that only Black Lives Matter, but that, say you're on a neighborhood and one house is on fire and the other ones are not. It doesn't mean that all the houses aren't important, but it's that one
Of
house
course.
that's on fire
Right.
is more.
That's a good way to describe it. I never heard anybody describe it that way, but that certainly makes sense, sir.
Yeah, but the only thing with that to me is it doesn't make sense because the stats don't back that up. Whether it's
all right, so let's talk about the stats, and I'll give them for you. And this is the debate, and stay on the line, sir. This is a debate that I have with people. Okay, let's talk about the stats. African Americans make up less than 12% of the country, yet they result in more than 50% of the crime. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. Some of those reasons are their upbringing. Some of those reasons are some of those people are just bad people. And other of those reasons are I think our justice system is unfair as a whole when it comes to minorities and white people. But that's not what this is about. We're not necessarily talking about the stats and how many crimes that minorities make. What we're talking about, at least what Black Lives Matter is talking about, is this: systemic racism and the way that law enforcement as a whole treats minorities. Not law enforcement killing minorities. We're talking about getting pulled over for no reason, getting harassed if you're jaywalking, people following you in a supermarket because or a Walmart because they think you're stealing. While I understand where you're going with the stats, sir, and it is a huge issue, black on black crime, huge issue. The Black Lives Matter movement does not take on every issue with minorities. And just because they're Black Lives Matter doesn't mean they're going to talk about every issue. For example, they're not talking about how coronavirus kills more black people than white people, percentage-wise. They're specifically talking about law enforcement and that relationship with minorities. It happened after Michael Brown. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. The point that I would really focus on is that, I have a few police officers in my family, and if anybody knows a police officer really well, a group of them, someone complaining about being discomforted is a daily occurrence. Whether it's they're hurting my hands, my handcuffs, or I can't breathe.
Okay, but if somebody is discomfort, but I understand. But if somebody is in discomfort, would somebody keep their knee on somebody's neck for 9 minutes?
The neck. No one's saying what he did was okay. The part that I would like to say is because he had his knee on his neck, I don't think he had any idea of what he was actually putting him through. Because if those other
all right, hold on a second.
Weren't on his back, he could have breathed.
So you don't think Chauvin knew that he was that Floyd was in some discomfort when Floyd was crying for, basically shouting for his life for his mom? I can't breathe, sir. Please, I can't breathe. Mom, I'm done. I can't breathe. I have pain all over my body. You're telling me as George Floyd is saying those things in the final moments of his life, and there are people around that incident that are pleading with the officer to stop. You're telling me, sir, with all due respect, that you don't think Chauvin had any idea what he was doing? Is that your position?
I don't see. And that's the part is I don't want to get into what was he thinking because there's no way I could
you just did.
Know.
All right, Jay, I appreciate that, but you brought that up, not me. I got to get to some of the other callers, my friend. I appreciate your call. I just completely disagree with what. All right, I just completely disagree with you, but that's all right. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Pete. Pete, you're next up on the Vegas take.
Brian, how you doing, buddy?
Good, Pete. What's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, just a couple of things. The Black Lives Matter. I think we ought to just do away with advertising this organization to the world. They're just a rotten organization, and they violate laws, and then they preach anarchy. as far as the George Floyd,
All right, hold
whatever this
on.
clown's
Let's
name is,
go. Hold on. Let's go one
deserved
point.
Everything he got because of the
What?
lifestyle that he lived. I am infuriated of this show, of this world tour of this beautiful coffin and the Michael Jackson special.
Pete, are you related to
and
David
all
Duke?
This nonsense. It's disgusting.
Hold on, Pete, hold on. All right.
Yeah.
You're telling me, just take a deep breath for a second. You're telling me that you believe that George Floyd deserved to be murdered by a police officer because he was exchanging perhaps a fake $20 bill. You can honestly say in your heart that you believe George Floyd deserved to be murdered on the streets in broad daylight by at least one police officer. Is that your position?
No, but it was going to happen anyway by the lifestyle of what he's created.
So you're defending the officers. Is that what you're doing, sir?
No, George was going to die one way or another.
So it might as well be at the hands of a police officer and his knee on his neck. Is that what you're saying?
It happened. He put himself in that position. That's the way I look at it, Brian. I really do.
So you don't think there's any discrimination between law enforcement and
why
minorities?
are we talking about this?
We're talking about. All right, I'll explain to you.
Other than this,
like what? Like what?
Well, like how good Trump's been doing for the country. I mean,
What a shocker!
What
a shocker! What a shocker that you would call. What a shocker! What a shocker! What a shocker! What a shocker, sir, that you would defend Donald Trump and then defend the officers for murdering George Floyd. I'm shocked, sir. What a shocker! What a shocker. You defend the officer who murders a black man, and in the same sentence, you also defend Donald Trump. You are a cliche, sir. You are a cliche. No, you don't get another thing because I don't allow racists more than 1 minute on this program, sir. Have a nice day. You are a disgrace to white people.
George Floyd's coffin was pretty nice.
This guy, this guy is such a disgrace. It's unbelievable. Geez, I thought he was going to say he was a Joe Biden supporter. I'm just shocked. I thought he was a liberal. 702-257-5396.
Starting tomorrow, the show will, for 3 hours, talk about how great Trump is doing for the country.
Yeah. Tomorrow, sir, we'll do that for 3 hours. Wait.
I'm retooling.
We'll do that tomorrow. We'll just praise Donald Trump, and we'll give away free Donald Trump knee pads for our 10th caller.
The ratings will go through the roof.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. 257-5396. God, people like that just drive me nuts. Some of the dumbest people in society. Really. That guy sounded like one of the guys. I'm serious. One of those guys that is doing the George Floyd challenge. That's the kind of guy that'll put his knee over one of his friends and mock the fact that George Floyd died. Well, he was going to die anyway. You want to talk about a racist, horrendous take. Congratulations, sir. You win it. You win it. You win the racist call of the day, sir. Congratulations. We'll send you a white cape through the mail. 257-5396. God, those calls get me so angry. Let's go to Michelle. Michelle, you're next up on the Vegas take.
Hi,
yes, Michelle.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I wanted to talk about the I think he was like a 70-something-year-old man that was knocked on the floor by the police.
Yes, ma'am. And by the way, just to let you know, we're going to be speaking with one of his very, very good friends at 10:30, so you're not going to want to miss that. Go ahead, Michelle.
Okay, well, there's video footage of him sitting there saying he's there to have a fun time.
So does that mean that you're saying it was okay
for right to have a fun time? He's there to cause. Like, if you're there saying you're there to have a good time, what are you there for?
Okay.
You're not there to promote anything. You're not there.
So whether he's okay, so I'll respond to that. Whether he's there to have a good time or not, and whether he's there to promote something or not, are you excusing the officer's behavior and pushing him down?
And another thing is, we all know that walking up to a police officer in pursuit is a suicide mission at that. I mean, let's just think
so you're
about
defending.
that right
there. Okay,
you know what
so
I mean?
I just want to.
They're in a pursuit. They're not on the corner waiting for a call.
Okay, so he was there.
He's walking.
I understand.
Like,
it is not.
We all
it is
know
not,
that. Even my 12-year-old daughter knows they're not walking.
Okay. Well, Well, I don't have a 12-year-old, but when I was 12, here's what I would have told you on this. It does not excuse the officer's behavior after the fact. They gave him a shove. He lost his balance. He was injured, bleeding from the ears. He was in grave danger.
He tried to go back, and he tried to go back.
Okay. So if I can finish. Okay. All right. So listen, if you want to defend the officers and the way they behave, that's on you.
But who walked up to who?
Okay. The bottom line is who walked.
Who engaged who?
Okay, if you walk up to a police officer and you're not putting a police officer.
His belt,
all right, if you could let me finish. If you could. Okay, here's the way this thing works. I'm happy to have a conversation with you, but you have to let me finish a sentence. Otherwise, I got to move on to the next caller. That's the way we're going to work this, Michelle. I'll give you another opportunity. He was not putting the officers in any danger. He didn't have a weapon. When you walk up, I've walked up to officers all the time. In fact, I walked up to a couple officers at a restaurant the other day. I shook their hands and I say, thank you for what you guys do. They didn't push me to the ground. It's also the behavior after they, it's their behavior after they pushed him to the ground. They kept on moving. They kept on walking. They didn't actually attend to his needs.
He got what he wanted.
He got what he wanted. All right.
You turn around and you walk up to a guy with a gun who's going to shoot people. They're going to shoot you.
So you think it would have been okay? So let me just get this right. You think they? All right. Let me just get this right, Michelle. You are just. So hold on a second. Okay. So you're saying that if the police took out a gun and shot him, they would have been justified because he walked up to them to talk to them? Is that what you're saying? God, boy. I tell you, man, and then we wonder why we're in this situation where we're in this country when you have people like that who call up the show and justify that behavior. 702-257-5396. It sounded to me like she would have been justifying the police if they shot this guy, all because he walked up to them and he said he wanted to have fun. What a joke.
Well, and you mentioned where he was on the ground bleeding and they kept walking.
And they kept walking. She's justifying that as well. Boy, I hope your 12-year-old has more sense than you, ma'am. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to David. David, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Why have you never mentioned Lydia Moreno and her husband, Paul Moreno?
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Lydia Moreno was 85 years old. Her husband, Paul, was 86. They went to a cemetery to visit their dead son, who is in a veterans cemetery, on May 10th. A black guy with a scope rifle basically came and shot him dead.
So you're saying, why am I not talking about a double murder that included okay, well, I'll answer your question. I'll tell you why. Have you been seeing what's going on in the country right now? Have you been seeing okay, you have. So you don't think it's justified to talk about race relations and George Floyd, sir?
This is also race relations, where you have a black guy who's murdering a white couple, just for purely out of revenge or fun or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This is also race relations.
Okay, so what would you like to?
I don't hear Biden basically saying, "Hey, boy, we should really empathize with that white couple that died."
Sadly, there are people that are murdered in this country every day, but usually it's not by law enforcement and police officers, and that's what makes this story unique, sad at the same time. Sadly, in this country, white people and black people commit horrible atrocities and murders every day. But specifically, the subject that we are talking about when it comes to George Floyd is murder by police officers. It's not something that happens on a regular basis. That's why it is a big news story. And while that is a horrific story, anybody killing anybody and committing murder, it's a terrible story. What else would you like to add to that? What is your point, sir, for bringing that up?
The point is that, where you spent almost a week on another story where 3 white guys basically killed a black guy, who are not police officers, and you basically went on and on about how the race relations of whites and white supremacists killing.
What do you mean they were not police officers? What are you talking about? They are police officers, or they were police officers. What do you mean they're not police officers?
The 3 white guys then in the truck who basically tracked down that poor black guy and killed him.
Okay, you're talking about the McMichaels. Yes.
Okay. You went on and on for that, and they were not police officers.
No, they were not.
A case in the other direction,
Yes.
You just totally ignore it.
Well, here's why. Do you have any proof that African-American killed that couple because they were white?
We have. If you look up the story, you will.
I didn't ask you. I don't need to look at the story. You seem to know the story, so I'm asking you a very specific. Okay, the McMichaels
was chased down by the 3 whites.
Right,
McMichaels.
The McMichaels called Arbery the N-word after they shot him. Do you have any evidence that the African American killed the couple because they were white? It's a simple question. Since you seem to know it, the answer, tell me.
And the answer is, what other reason would there be for a black?
So you don't have an answer. You just make an assumption.
No, listen.
Maybe. Okay. I'll give it to you. 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 Sure. I'll answer your question. Maybe he was just crazy. Maybe he was demented. Maybe he had mental illness. Maybe he had a history of mental illness. Or maybe he was just a criminal. Just maybe it had nothing to do with race. Did you ever think of that, sir? Have a very, very nice day. Have a nice day, sir. Good grief. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Glenn. Glenn, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, man. I'm doing wonderful. What's going on?
I cannot believe the kind of people that are calling in.
Glenn, Glenn, I tell you, man, I'm just gonna bang my head against the wall. The level of stupidity is very high today.
Well, and I can guarantee you, these people don't think that they have a racist bone in their body. They think they're just so open-minded.
Right.
And now you understand why Black Lives Matters is so pissed off. I would be too. My goodness.
Glenn, I try to be patient with some of these people, but it's so difficult sometimes. You know, listen, I don't want anybody to be murdered or killed. I am for the Black Lives Matter movement so long as it's peaceful. And you know what? I want everyone to be treated as equal. And if any murder happens at any given time, obviously I'm against it. But the fact that this guy wants to talk about another murder that no proof that it had anything to do with race and doesn't think we should be talking about race relations when there are literally hundreds of thousands of people throughout the country that are still protesting is beyond me. It really is, Glenn.
Yeah. And because of people like that, from what I've been hearing and from politicians, I don't see how any Republican with a clear thinking would ever vote Republican this time. I mean, I won't. I mean, I don't know if I'll vote for Biden, but I won't be voting for Trump.
Glenn, I'm with you. I'm with you, Glenn. We think the same way. I'm certainly not voting for Trump. I'm not a big Biden supporter, but I appreciate that, Glenn, and thank you for being reasonable. For the phone call. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Richard. Richard, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, I disagree with you all the time, and I'm probably about as pro-cop as it gets. But with this guy, I mean, when I was watching Judge Jean's show, and she showed his knee just buried, with his weight on it, in this guy, in the side of this guy's neck, that's not second-degree murder, especially since he knew the guy beforehand. That is not second-degree murder. That is first-degree murder. And when I looked at the cop that was standing next to him, looking down and seeing what he was doing and not doing a damn thing about it, I mean, even if this guy had lost it mentally and had gone berserk, it was the other officer's duty to pull him off of that man. And they failed in that duty, and not only should they forfeit their jobs, they should forfeit their freedoms, and they should be
Richard,
next to him.
Richard, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I want to ask you a question, sir, because you're a Republican and you said you're a Trump supporter, right?
Yes.
Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Let me be very clear on that. I want to ask you a question. To your fellow Republicans, some right-wing talk show hosts, even some of them that live in Las Vegas, what would you say to them that say this murder had nothing to do with race? Because there are still people that do shows or that are in the media that have that take. What would you say to them?
That this show doesn't have anything to do with race, although I think it's pretty obvious that this cop was certainly a racist. Right. But no, this is nothing to do with race. This was murder. This was several criminals with badges that themselves are probably some of the biggest cop killers in the country right now. Because
Richard, I agree. I don't. Yeah, well, Richard, we're on the same page there. I certainly agree with you, and I appreciate you calling in, sir. Thank you. I don't care whether you're a Trump supporter or not. We're not talking about that right now. We're talking about what took place here and the racist comments that Michelle Fiore made and the fact that there are people calling in justifying some of these police officers. It's beyond me. Let's go to Bill. Bill, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on? Bill, what's going on, my man? Did we lose Billy? Billy? Oh, we lost Billy.
Here's another one.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Brady. Brady, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. I'm surprised you haven't brought up the guardian angels who protected that Foot Locker store in Brooklyn. You seem to miss all the points of the white people getting beat up, the cops getting killed.
Sure, I'll gladly talk. Let's have a conversation about that. But before we do that, let's do that. Let's have a conversation about that. I'll gladly do that with you, Brady, when you pay me the $100 that you owe me. You said that Schiff was going to be arrested and put in jail by June 1st. That was 6 months ago. Funny, Brady, I still haven't received that $100 check in the mail that I'm going to be donating to the Joe Biden campaign. Brady, would you like to tell all of our listeners why you're a scumbag and why you don't pay your debts?
How about you come over to my house and I kick your ass?
Yeah, okay, very funny, Brady. Have a nice day. Sorry, I don't want to go to your Klan meeting tonight in the Brady household. Have a nice day. You're a scumbag. You don't pay your debts, and I don't even want to take your calls anymore. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Joel. Joel, you're next on the Vegas take. Is there anything worse than someone who makes a bet on the air and then doesn't pay up? Joel, what's going on? Joel's? I'm sorry, Joel's. Joel's. I'm sorry, I apologize, sir. Joel's, what's on your mind? Did we lose Joel's? Jules? Joel's? I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. This is what
sounds made up.
Maybe it's a made up
Let's
name.
go to our buddy Malik.
All right. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's try to squeeze in Malik. Malik, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey, fellas, what's up, B? Hey, check it out. I wanted to read some stats for you from the this is from the FBI. It's a survey that says that black men committed 36% of murders and made up 52% of all murder victims. White men committed 30% of murders and accounted for 43% of all murders. So, basically what I'm saying is essentially, people kill people that they're familiar with, right? But
yes, I think that's fair.
That's fair, right? So, Brian, I wanted to mention, because I know you're busy. I want to know if JD and you both, basically, once you guys are syndicated, if you go to St. Louis and Ferguson and JD would go to Houston and say the things about George Floyd, like JD says that he's a drug dealer and all that. If you could say that in front of his family.
Well, I don't want to speak for JD, Malik. I don't think he would do that, but I can tell you this about myself. I can only speak for myself. I've had after Ferguson, I had plenty of conversations with African Americans about black on black crime, and they didn't always agree with what I said. But guess what? I was respectful to them, but I said everything I say on the radio to their face. Because I was respectful about it. I know I'm not a racist. I can only speak for myself.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying it's kind of. I think it would be something to say in front of the Brown family, like, because I don't, Brown, I like you. I just don't agree with you about an 18-year-old kid getting shot 8 times by a cop. If you would say in front of his parents, I think your son deserved to die. Woo! I would.
You're talking about Michael Brown?
Yeah. Could you say that in front of his
If
parents?
I had an opportunity to interview the Brown family. I feel bad for them, but at the same time, I would say the evidence is overwhelming that Michael Brown attacked that police officer. The evidence is overwhelming that police officer was doing his job. The evidence was overwhelming that Michael Brown had just committed a strong-arm robbery. The evidence was overwhelming that Michael Brown attacked that police officer, went after his gun. If you're dumb enough to attack a police officer, and yes, I think Michael Brown was very ignorant. If you're dumb enough to go after I'm sorry. I just think he was.
There wasn't no body cam of that incident.
But what we had was forensics, and do you realize there were 7 African Americans that testified in court that Michael Brown? Okay, but hold on.
8 times.
Yeah, you know what? If somebody is chasing after me, police officers are trained to shoot to kill. They are They are trained to shoot at center mass. Now, if I have a man that large going after my gun, coming after me, I'm going to probably shoot him 8 times too, and I don't care what the color of his skin is. The point I'm trying to make is this. You have a case. Listen, Malik, hear me out. You have a case with Eric Garner. You have a case with plenty of African Americans that have been unjustified in being murdered by police. I'm with you.
Right.
But don't include Michael Brown. That's all I ask, because the evidence was overwhelming. You know I'm on your side. I agree with you. I agree with the Black Lives Matter movement. Malik?
I know, Brian. I'm just saying, Brian, it just seems like that guy, they left the body out in the ground for about 2 hours uncovered.
Well, I will also respond to that. Malik, I have a history of being, for 10 years I was a news reporter. I've covered homicides. I've covered murders. I've covered car accidents. It is not out of the realm of possibility that if there is a fatality, they leave the dead body there for a long period of time so they can investigate. It happens all the time. Now, listen, is it horrible to see? Absolutely. Is it disgusting that, the neighborhood had to see that? Absolutely. Could the police maybe have put a sheet over the body faster? Absolutely. But that to me is a different subject than whether Michael Brown chased after the officer and deserved to die. Malik, I appreciate your thoughts all the time, my friend. I'm on your side. I'm just saying people need to stop bringing up Michael Brown and Ferguson, because that shooting was justified according to the forensics, according to the evidence, and according to 7 African Americans that were witnesses that said Michael Brown never put his hands up, never said don't shoot.